Hello and welcome to CLS News at 12. I'm Kayla Quirk. And unfortunately, Sam Yang is working on another news story in New York City, so he won't be here in the studios today. However, he will be able to show us his strategy all the way from the city. This week's segment is on exam preparation, and we will be having 3 different strategies: anticipating exam questions, Q&A maps, and directional word analysis. First, we have Jaeyeon Choi and Ryan Winter with directional word analysis.
Hello, I'm Jaeyeon Choi, and I'm going to show you how to do the directional word analysis strategy. You start by looking at previous exams or review questions. As you read each question, notice the directional words the professor uses and circle them. These directional words can include things such as define, explain, compare, contrast, identify, or describe. Then after you finish going through all the questions, mark down the number of questions in each word. Since I'm a kinesthetic learner, this was helpful to me because by recognizing the directional words used by the professor, it forces you to pay attention to them and understand the particular information your professor wants you to provide on an answer to an exam question.
Hello, I'm Ryan Winter, and I also did the directional word analysis. And what I did, I have a slight adaptation of it, because being a design student, the majority of my classes are studio classes, where this does not apply because we do not have exams. So the class I use this in is my art history class, Art 111, which is the only class I can really use this in because it's the only class I have exams in. So far we've only had one quiz, and it was a quiz on the paintings of the time period we were studying. And in each painting, the quiz asked for the title, the artist, the patron, the date it was painted, and the country of origin. So I now know that any paintings in the future, based on the time period we were studying, to look for those specific aspects in the painting.
Now we have Hamza Al-Haddad with anticipating test questions, along with Sam Yang's interpretation of the strategy all the way from New York City.
Hello everybody, this is Hamza Al-Haddad, and today I'll be speaking about anticipating test questions. There are 5 simple yet effective ways. First off, syllabus info. Everything you need to know is in your syllabus. In the course description, your objectives, your overview, whatever it's called. It has everything you need to know, whether the pattern, the structure, whether it's cause and effect or definitions or just listings. It really comes in handy, and it's a crucial part of the 5 steps. Second off, know your professor's questions from class each time your professor asks a question. Write it down, determine what he's asking for. For example, he could be asking for cause and effect, or a definition, or etc. Sheet that I depended on during my test, so I think it'll come in handy for you too. Last but not least, you can use your previous exams. Well, from it you can know the structure methods of the teacher, what method to use during the exam, and you can base your study preparation off of it. So your study preparation for the next test should emphasize the type of information in the exam questions. For our math course, what our teacher did basically was he gave us questions that showed understanding rather than just knowing or memorizing. And there were no multiple choice, so what can we expect? Well, we won't expect multiple choices in our next exam. Thank you. Third off, use a study aid. Study sheets, they contain the most valuable information you need. They come in handy, believe me, especially for midterms. Generating your own questions can be very helpful. So what you can do is generate questions above those that have been mentioned in the study aids or the study sheets. Fourth, create questions from your notes. Sounds quite similar to the Jeopardy method. And that is exactly what I have done. So over here, I'm not sure if it's quite clear, but you can see I have a list of questions on one side and the answers to it, all the answers on the other side. And this goes on for 3 pages. So it's my little study sheet that I.
Hi Kyla, this is Sam Yang. This week's topic is exam preparation. The most effective exam prep strategy for me was anticipating test questions. This was effective because I can predict the types of questions and formats of the test that can be on the test, which will prepare me for the test eventually. Here are the steps for anticipating the questions. First step, you need to use the syllabus information. And second, note the professor's questions asked in the class. Third, use study aids such as study sheets or graphic organizers. 4, create questions and validate with your professor. Last step is to use previous exams to create your own questions. Specifically, I applied this strategy with preparing for upcoming CFS 388 exam. Following the steps of the strategy, I was able to come up with more than 30 possible questions. Through those questions, I took a closer step to acing upcoming CFS exam. Experiencing and anticipating the test questions strategy was profoundly valuable and helpful for me. Thank you.
Finally, we have Hyun Lee and myself with Q&A maps. Hello again, I'm Kayla Quirk, and I'm going to show you how I use the Q&A map strategy to prepare me for my exam in my Intro to Theater class. I have not had an exam in this class before. However, I've done a lot of papers and there have been many discussion questions in class. By using my assignments on my syllabus and my notes, I was able to fill out my Q&A map, and there are 3 steps involved to make the map.
Hello, I'm Hyun Lee. To begin, you must list all of the topics you have discussed in this course. This could be found on your syllabus or in a topic online. For mine, I have 4 topics: basic words and greeting, B-words, possessives, and personal background.
For mine, I have 6 topics that would be discussed in my exam. It would be super objective, protagonist, argument of the play, intentions, given circumstances, and unnatural acts. The second step is to read through previous exams or questions and identify the professor's use of patterns in the questions. These patterns could be definitions, listings, order or sequence, compare and contrast, or cause and effect. Mine contained a lot of definitions, compare and contrast questions, as well as listings.
Mine contain a lot of translation questions from Chinese to English or English to Chinese.
Finally, for the last step, you make a chart in which you list all of your topics and the patterns used. Then you put slash marks on each of the columns when the pattern is used in previous questions that you have been asked in class, on papers, or in exams. For mine, a majority of the slash marks were in compare and contrast columns. Therefore, most of the questions would be compare and contrast questions for my exam, so I knew what to study.
In mine, all of my questions were definitions, so I know to study definition for my exam. I like this method because I'm a reading and writing learner, so and by writing everything else, I was able to see what I had to do for this exam.
I like this strategy because I'm a visual and kinesthetic learner, and the most helpful aspect of the Q&A map was the division of patterns on my chart that I had right in front of me. By seeing where the majority of questions are, I knew what I needed to study. So, thank you. Thanks again for choosing CLS News at 12. Stay tuned for our note-taking segment next week. I'm Kayla Quirk. See you next week.